live.
I think we're live. We are
Yay,
live.
we're not only alive, but also
We're
live.
also live.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is out there yet, but we'll just say welcome to the first live show on the channel. Again, I don't know if anyone is going to show up to this, but we can talk.
Yeah, because
Because
we
can never do it ever.
We never do
this is
that,
the only time
no.
we've ever actually talked.
Yeah.
Bar when we watch movies on the channel. So yeah, I actually just had put up the Poseidon Adventure there a couple of hours ago. So the first film I've put up since the Christmas break.
All right. Okay. So the first movie in 2025. How do you feel about that?
Well, no, we actually had technically not, because we'd watched Wicked in the cinemas as well.
Yeah, but that's the first movie that you watched for the channel. I don't think
Yeah.
you would have dragged a phone into the cinema to try to phone,
My reaction.
reaction to the actual cinema experience. Do people do that?
We probably could have nearly got away with it because there was no one else in the cinema.
There was no one else in the cinema, but I think as soon as you put it on YouTube, it would have been people maybe not being so
not so
amused about you putting up a current movie that's still running in theaters and taking away their box office money.
It wouldn't be the thing to do. But you actually could have actually recorded it. No one would have noticed because we were the only two in the cinema.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's like,
but we don't do that.
No, we don't do that.
No. But plus, you ran out of the movie about 3 times.
I don't want to use the bathroom. That was it. It was a long film.
It was a long film, but I've also hardly ever seen you as distracted during a movie than I did during that. Yeah.
I actually thought it was good. I did think
it was good, but I think you didn't pick it, so therefore you were chatting, and I was like,
I wasn't chatting. No.
Yeah, you were chatting.
No, I wasn't. I might have said 1 or 2 things, but some of the music was good, but some of it I was not too keen on.
Well, I have to admit it was the same for me, but that's because musicals, I mean, some of them are good, but a lot of them, like the music, is just.
That's why I love when it comes
2 good songs in every
when it comes
musical,
to the Disney movies. That's why I love Homeward Bound and Hocus Pocus so much, because Hocus Pocus has one song with Bette Midler, but they're not musicals, and that's another reason why I really enjoy them.
Mary Poppins, for example, which you haven't watched yet, I believe.
I did watch Mary Poppins.
Oh yes, you did. You watched it.
No, that was good. I did like Mary Poppins.
But Mary Poppins, for example, has predominantly good songs.
Yeah,
especially when you see it in the context of back then. Most of the songs are actually really, really good. So, and I feel that in the more modern musicals, like the filler songs kind of feel a bit like an afterthought. But it's, that's just my personal experience, maybe.
Yeah. No, they actually weren't bad in that, I have to say. And I remember seeing a stage version of Grease. I actually really enjoyed that.
Again,
that was fun.
Yeah. Again, fun. different type.
And I think what's the one? The original Wizard of Oz has songs in it. I actually really enjoyed that film. So technically, I don't enjoy musicals. Just I think a lot of the ones I've seen, the songs have been hit or miss. Or there's a couple of good, but there's a couple of good ones. But then there was a few that were not so.
Where you're like, okay,
enjoyable.
It's a bit like, to me, sometimes it feels in some musicals, it genuinely feels like someone literally just, wrote down whatever they were thinking and made up a random melody towards it. Like me and you sitting here and me going, we're going live. We're going live. We're live now. Shall we talk?
Wait, is this becoming
a musical? That's a song now. That's a musical. Exactly. We're doing a musical version of
a musical version of a live stream.
That's it. And then there would be a choir coming in going live.
I'm just gonna check how many films I've actually watched at this stage.
How many musicals you've watched at this stage, or how many movies and films you've watched for the channel?
I mean, overall, there's 304 videos, so a few of them are TV shows, like Gunsmoke and Star Trek, but I'd say there's like over 200, I'd say about 240 films I have watched on the channel now. It's quite a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of films to watch in general, but it's definitely a lot of films to watch for the channel.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm more like I watch more series than movies generally.
But you do like your movies as well.
I do like my movies, yes. I guess I always liked series. But obviously in the last years, it's like even the movie actors kind of moved over to series.
Oh, definitely. TV shows have become
like
more,
they've become
more not lucrative isn't the right word I'm looking for, but more
relevant,
more prestigious than they would have been.
a lot more prestigious.
Back in the 90s, I think, and even 2000s and 80s, TV shows were kind of seen as like lesser than films in some ways. Even though it wasn't always the case that the films were better, but they probably had bigger budgets.
If you were kind of like an A-lister, whatever that is,
you weren't in TV shows
you were
so
like
much.
in movies.
Yeah.
And now you're more,
you
absolutely, you're in TV shows. So all the A-listers do their TV shows.
Toph, how are you? We're our first person to say hello.
Hi.
We're just talking about how today TV shows are kind of more prestigious, tend to be more prestigious or more high profile than films, where a lot of actors and actresses who would have been in movies and not TV shows, or now it's almost the other way around.
Yeah, first of all that, but also like even the movies, like you have movies on the streaming services. So like the streaming services, obviously, it's in the past you would have had to go to the cinema to actually watch a movie that later kind of got the Oscar nomination and stuff, and now it's kind of like on Netflix, or on Disney, or whatever.
Yeah, like some of them they'll have like a brief release in the cinema, and then they go straight. Like I think The Irishman, the Scorsese film, that was like had a brief release in cinemas, and then it was straight to Netflix. So I think Netflix produced that.
Did it?
Yeah.
I believe, I'm not sure. I don't want to. That may be inaccurate, but I do believe that there were some movies that were also simultaneously in the cinemas and either on Amazon or on Disney. I'm not sure.
At the same time.
At the same time, yeah.
That's kind of a conflict of interest. You think that they would give them the run? The cinemas allowed them to have the run with the film first before.
No, I think it was more or less simultaneously, but I may be wrong about that.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Love the reactions.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I always loved watching. Hello, Crazy Cat. How are you?
Hi.
We were just talking about we were just talking about how TV shows are more prestigious than they used to be, kind of back in the day. I'm not saying that they're better now necessarily, but definitely bigger budgets and a lot more of the high-profile actors are kind of performing in them.
Yeah, look at Kate Winslet has been in a bunch of series. Nicole Kidman has been in a number of series. Jennifer Aniston, who kind of went from series to movie star, kind of went back to series again. He did what was it? The Morning Show, I think, is the one with Reese Witherspoon is in it as well. Yeah, very good show. On I forget, was it on Sky or was it on Apple TV? I'm not sure, but anyway, so really good series.
Even if you get stuff like even Game of Thrones, I know it's been finished up a few years ago, but like that was like they had big budgets for that. Like there was very last production.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, like huge productions.
I mean, how would you want to do something like that without production? I even think if for example, Lord of the Rings hadn't come out when it came out,
it would have become a
TV show because it was actually it was made for a show lengthwise, it would have been
Kate Winslet
easier.
and Nicole Kidman do prestige HBO programs.
Yeah. HBO. That was it.
But no, you make a good point though, because it's like TV shows have kind of shown how you can tell a great story, but tell it in a longer format, even if it's just 12 episodes. Because I think one thing I do feel for some of the writers of older shows, like say Star Trek Next Generation, which I love, but like they were obligated to write like 27, 28 episodes per season. That's a lot of material.
Yeah, you can't to come up with. But also, like if you think about storytelling and you think about like let's stick with the Lord of the Rings. That's long books. Like it's a lot of source material, so like, or when I think about the Harry Potter books, for example, there was like, the third Harry Potter movie where it was my favorite book actually. And and then when I watched it, I was quite disappointed because there was a huge development within the book, kind of like a story that really it was about. Actually was about Harry mastering one specific spell, but it was a very relevant spell, and it was anyway. But within the book, it took forever, and in the movie, it was like 1, 2, 3 done. you know, and like obviously these type of arches you cannot really tell in a movie even, and it was a long movie that was like
but
a 2-hour movie or whatever.
Limitations.
It was a lot of limitations. I mean, I still love the third movie. I think to this day it's one of my favorites, but that would have been really good in a TV show.
Yeah, absolutely. But like,
you know,
it's funny because I remember when I heard the story that when Peter Jackson was proposing Lord of the Rings to New Line Cinema, he had his kind of meeting was based around doing it over 2 movies, and he was very apprehensive about suggesting 2 movies because he would think they would just want it in one movie. And so,
then they said no, let's make it into 3.
Yeah, they said like, we love the plan, but this should be 3 films, and he was just like, in his head, like, thank God, like even more room to tell more of the story.
Yeah, but that's exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to storytelling. I think that the series gives you so much more.
It does. No, it definitely does.
Options. And I get more and more and more into, even though I'm a sucker for a second season. You know, like I love it when I don't have to leave characters just yet, you know, so to say. But I have been loving all of these miniseries.
Oh yeah.
They've been brilliant. I've watched a number of them. Like, remember we watched Reindeer, we watched Botkin.
Yeah, Botkin,
you know,
was fun.
they were like, yeah.
And if you see Reindeer Baby or Botkin,
very good.
They were both very, very they were good shows. But I do still have a yearn for those old 90s TV shows like Star Trek. The Star Trek, it did have some overarching storylines, but it was episodic, so like kind of one story episode contained, you know. It's like you have a story and then next episode is something completely different. Highlander had that, Quantum Leap had that, you know, all these shows I grew up with in the 90s.
But it's so interesting because when we were watching, you know, it's so interesting how we have such different experiences with those things, because when we were watching Highlander the other day,
Superman was pitched as 2 movies. That was the plan. Then director Richard Donner was fired midway into part 2. But they did 3 of those, didn't they?
Of what?
Of the old Superman ones with Christopher. Wasn't it Christopher Reeve?
What?
Superman. Just there.
Oh yeah, Superman. Yeah. I don't know.
You haven't seen any of them, no?
I've seen the series in the 90s, the Superman
with
series.
Dean Cain and Terry
Hatcher. I watched that, but I don't believe I've seen any. I don't
know if I've seen the first Superman. I definitely saw the second one years ago.
I've seen a Spider-Man.
With Tobey Maguire. Yeah. But Superman, this was like back in the 70s. Yeah. I think the sequels were the 80s. But I remember watching, I think it was the second one. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Yeah. Music is like iconic, you
know. No, but what I wanted to say was about the 90s movies.
I wonder why Donner. Do you know why was Donner? Sorry, why was Donner fired midway through the second one? Was it just creative
differences?
Yeah,
drinking on set.
I don't know.
You know.
No, because it said it was pitched as 2 movies. That's the plan, and the director was fired. I was just curious.
Maybe he just didn't.
Maybe he probably clashed the producer. That's often what it is.
Yeah. Let's face it happens in music as well. You know, like the record label wants a certain thing, the artist wants a completely different thing, and then it's like getting creative freedom.
Exactly what we're saying, because studios and producers suck. Definitely, they often have to kind of like tweak kind of the vision, because obviously the producers are funding it, so they kind of have to in a way.
Yeah, and they're I mean, that's also what's stifling creative freedom so often, because they're trying to kind of anticipate what would become popular, and that just doesn't work, you know. Like, it's so often whatever actually became popular but also changed things, both in music and in film or series, were things that hadn't been done before, you know. And obviously you still had to do them in order to have any type of movement and motion and within the development of both movies and music, you know. So I don't know, I think that it's
like I think
business.
the original Terminator is an example of, like, because it's very low budget, but I feel like James Cameron had complete creative control on the vision of that story, and it's just such a perfect little story. It's all contained in like one day, or it takes over one night, like 24 hours basically, and just the way the whole structure of the story, I feel like he had complete control over that. And I think in the second one, it's a bit more
caricatured or magnified.
More blockbustery kind of. And
Yeah,
I think maybe part of that might have been the producers going like, look, we want money now, but we want this or this involved.
But I have to say, I still liked it.
No, I do as well.
It was kind of like it was kind of like a logical development. So but I've had that with music more so than with films. That I've listened to an album and then it was the first album was just pure genius. And then I would always, if I loved the first album of a band or of an artist, I would dread the second one, literally dread it. Like if I was so emotionally invested in it.
They might be changed because they're popular now. It's like, that's the risk.
Oh my God. And it happened quite often, but luckily a number of times it also didn't happen. And every time I had a good second album, I was like, oh, thank God.
Sorry, Treat. So, have you two ever seen any David Lynch films? I read that he passed away yesterday. Yeah, you should watch some Lynch films for the channel, like Eraserhead and Blue Velvet. I've heard of both of them. Blue Velvet, I know of. There's one scene.
What is Blue Velvet about?
I'm not 100% sure. I watched this show years ago. It was the 100 Scariest Movie Moments, and I'm pretty sure Blue Velvet is not a horror, but there's one insane scene in that film with I think Dennis Hopper.
Who's Dennis Hopper?
Do you know Dennis Hopper?
The name rings a bell, but I wouldn't have a face in that.
No. Actually, I've seen him in quite a few of the old westerns as well, but he kind of became more popular, I think, in the 70s.
Okay.
But there's one famous scene, and again, Isabella Rossellini, I think, is in it as well. Who were from Friends. Ross.
But I don't need to remember Isabella Rossellini from Friends.
Yeah, I know.
I knew her outside of Friends,
what you call is it as well? I can't think of his name now, but the main guy from Twin Peaks. Did you watch Twin Peaks?
Nah.
I have to watch. So many people over the years have told me I would love Twin Peaks, so that's a show I really need to watch. It's supposed to be quite strange and surreal, so I think it would be up my alley.
But we never finished our talk about the Highlander.
Yeah, so I just did. Terminator 1 was basically like an indie film.
Yeah.
By the time part 2 came around, James Cameron had enough power and just okay, interesting. So he said that because he kind of proved himself in the first one, he could kind of do what he wanted. Yeah, so that's actually is an interesting point as well. Sorry, you were saying about Highlander.
No, I was saying about Highlander that even though I loved that show back in the 90s, I watched that one episode with you, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, obviously it's a little dated. It is a little dated.
No, but it wasn't dated. You know what it was? You know what I thought? I don't think I told you that. I thought this guy's acting is terrible.
Which Adrian Paul?
Yeah.
No, I think
I was like, oh my God! I was like. He was in one of those emotional scenes. I was like, yeah, I don't buy that. And then I was literally wondering, because you're so into your old shows and you're so into your old movies. And I've seen some old movies that had absolutely brilliant acting in it, but I've also especially on that show, I was like, oh my God, they picked him because he was good looking, I genuinely thought the action was actually a bit poor.
Well, I've gone back and watched this and he's not the greatest actor in the world, but there are certain episodes where he does do a good job. He did get better, but he was also phenomenal with the sword.
Yeah,
he actually could do his action scenes.
And that probably was a big thing, because I swear to God, I had one or two tiny Tommy Wiseau kind of
flashbacks. No, it was not that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad, of course not. But
nobody is as bad as Tommy Wiseau.
Nobody is as bad. He's the best at being bad, 100%.
Or Adrian Paul.
No, obviously not.
Adrian Paul, Paul and I told you, Adrian Paul from Highlander and Bret Hart, the wrestler, were the reason I grew my hair long all those years ago. I thought they were the coolest guys in the world.
To be fair, Adrian, he was very good looking. He really is. Obviously is a bit older now, but still, it was a very good looking man. But that's the thing, you have these actors that are picked because they're fit, and I don't mean British fit, yes, but I mean literally physically capable to do certain scenes and stuff. But of course, when you're good looking, and then when you're also athletic,
it helps.
And you're good with the sword and everything, no pun intended, then it's kind of it's kind of the acting doesn't need to be brilliant,
Yeah,
I would say that, but I do know that I was reading
but
that.
it may be the mass of the production as well. Like, of course,
I know. Yeah, and also you're kind of you probably are limited to how much time you have to an episode. So
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So like, it's also about the amount of episodes. Obviously, you can't always act brilliantly if you have to, I don't know, crank out an episode.
The first season,
or whatever.
Some of the acting in the first season is a bit rough. Like, especially some of the villains, they're really over the top. Like McLeod, I'm gonna take your woman. You know, it's very kind of hokey, as I think they'd say in America. But I still enjoy them. They're fun. But the later seasons is definitely an improvement. But I do know. I think he had said after the first season that like if they were going to just continue on with it being bad guy of the week, that he didn't want to continue doing the show. He wanted to bring a bit more like kind of history and a bit of romance to the show, just a bit more layers to the show than it wasn't just him versus a bad guy every single week.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, because it gets old. Yeah. You know, and that's the beauty of, like, we were talking about miniseries. You know, that's the beauty of a miniseries. Yeah, you have an entire story that is simply divided into different episodes, and not you have one episode and you have to have a finished story within this. You know, like it's always more interesting when you have certain connectors that kind of like are the thread that goes throughout the story. It's just storytelling.
The Christopher Lambert movie Highlander was great as Tarzan in the movie Greystock: The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes. Recommend if you haven't seen it. I have not seen those. Christopher Lambert, he played Connor McLeod
in Lord of the Apes.
The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes.
Yeah, well, but what would he swings again, right? He's like half naked and swinging.
All I know is I know there was a very old one, like back in the 40s or 50s or something. But then there was that comedy one with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
Didn't he play?
Yeah. He did. Yeah. He did a bunch of comedy
Oscar
stuff
recently, didn't he? For what was that?
The Whale.
Yeah, which I need to watch. I've not seen that.
It's supposed to be really
great
good
performance.
Yeah, really good. The poor man had to be in a fat suit the entire time, I think.
Yeah, but it was such a comeback because he kind of gone into obscurity, hadn't he?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And like I think maybe the Mummy movies, the last things that he had done.
Didn't he do Jumanji as well? Wasn't he?
No, it was Robin Williams.
Jumanji was
The Rock did the remake, but the original one was Robin Williams.
That's right.
Actually, George of the Jungle. That's it, George of the Jungle.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
it.
Yeah, but I remember I don't know, guys. Did you find this with Jumanji, the original, I don't know if the remake did it, but the thumping drum sound of the board game when you'd hear it, I always thought that was like really creepy. Like I remember in the very opening scene, it's like in the 1800s. There's those two kids on the horse and carriage, and they're burying it, saying like, "Let's pray no one ever finds them." Like they're kind of digging a pit. They throw it in. One of them falls down into it, and it's like, he's like, he's like, "Get me out of here!" And it's like, I just thought it was really creepy. It's kind of the suggestion of what could happen. I always find that in films or in horror films as well. It's the suggestion. So if you see a figure in the distance, it's that suggestion of a threat that's kind of almost scarier than the
actual threat.
There, kind of, It's like it's what's going to come.
No, I agree.
The anticipation.
And the music obviously plays into that. Like that's what makes it.
Yeah, like Jaws, for example.
What was the name of that movie? There was one movie that was made about maybe 10 years ago that was completely musicless. It was kind of like, I think, in the Oscar talk and stuff. It also kind of played. It was kind of like a modern Western type thing. I think it played in the desert.
I'm not sure on that one
because that was strange. Like I remember watching it. I'm not sure if I watched the whole thing, but I do remember that it was maybe someone out there knows what I mean. That was really strange because having no music, like zero music, gives everything like a different realm, a realism.
It does.
It's really strange.
Sorry, Chris, never seen Jumanji. Is it still worth seeing as an adult? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a fun movie. Have you seen the original Robin Williams?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's worth a watch. It's definitely a fun movie and it's funny as well. So I think it still holds up as an adult. So I would definitely recommend it. But just back to your thing about the music, there's two examples. So in Jurassic Park, for example, when the T-Rex. The T-Rex scene where it breaks out. There's that's like about 10 minutes, like that whole scene, and there's no music. You don't even realize because you're so enthralled by this huge dinosaur. And I think that was a recut done where someone put music on, but it just didn't
work.
After watching it, yeah, with no music.
Yeah, because I think the tension was important in that scene.
Yeah, well,
you know,
hearing
plus,
the boom,
I was going to say,
that's all you
it's
needed.
like hearing the dinosaur move
Yeah,
around, like
absolutely.
that kind of made this
That
scene.
was all you needed.
Absolutely.
And it's the same in Jaws when Quint is eaten at the end, where the ship starts sinking. And originally they were going to have music for that. So just before it bites him, it's like it starts like the music. It's the Jaws music, but it's speeding up like dun 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 dun. But again, I think it worked better just hearing him scream in pain like as he's eaten alive by the shark. That worked because you're in the seat of Chief Brody just watching this in front of you, seeing him get eaten alive. And I don't think it needed the music again. It worked better without the music, even though the music was amazing, obviously. In the film.
There? What did we watch? We watched a video the other day, didn't we? Where there was a scene from some action movie with two guys, and someone put like a romance type of music behind it, and all of a sudden, whatever they were saying sounded like they were actually coming on to each other. So it was like it was supposed to be like a threatening scene originally. Was it? It wasn't Die Hard or anything like that, was it? But it was. Do you remember that?
I have something vague.
It was so funny. So it was actually like an action.
It's amazing how music can change.
But it was literally they put this like sexy country song, and these guys were like kind of starting to take off their clothes. And what was it? That was like, so funny.
Yeah, they were like, I think they were practicing, like they were doing like a training session or something.
No, they were gonna fight each other, so they were literally starting to take clothes off, like to get into a fight.
But, it was Bruce Lee and I can't remember the other guy. It was Bruce Lee, I think.
Was that?
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah. That was so funny. Well, all of a sudden it looked like they're gonna go for it.
David Lynch is notorious for the sound design in his movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I have to watch it. I definitely must have seen something by David Lynch. What have I seen? But he's in a lot of good movies. Yeah, I'll have to definitely watch.
Also, I told you that Tarantino, like I saw that in an interview once. What he does is the first thing that he picks for a new movie is the soundtrack. Like apparently he has this huge basement full of records and music, and like the first thing he does when he says that the music sets the pace for the movie. So that's why the first thing he does is he does the soundtrack. So first the soundtrack and then he writes the movie.
Interesting take on it.
Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. Like,
hello from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Hello, Erico. Hi. How are you?
What time is it there?
What time is it there? Because it's like
almost,
I was going to say 10:30, but I think 10:30. It's nearly 10:30 here. Actually, Calgary, Alberta, that's where Bret Hart was from. Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler of all time. I loved Bret Hart.
Synchronicity.
3:29 p.m. Okay, so they're about 7 hours behind.
Oh yeah, okay, so it's still light.
I want to go. Canada is definitely high on my list. I have not been.
Me
I
too.
really want to visit Canada. Vancouver is supposed to be stunningly beautiful. So
nearly went to Canada for a year when I was in school.
Oh, for like your study abroad semester?
No, in school, like in high school, you could go like
for a year.
For a year, you could go away.
Really?
Yeah, you could go abroad for a year in school in Germany. That was possible. So, but unfortunately, that didn't work out.
Yeah, I was in I lived in Pennsylvania for a while, so I wasn't too far from Canada. It was pretty high up.
Yeah.
God, so much snow! I'd never seen so much snow in my life.
Is it cold at the moment? Is it snowing at the moment?
Yeah, it must be. In Calgary, it must be pretty cold. Imagine you have a lot of snow at the moment. The Crow with Brandon Lee has the best soundtrack ever. Oh, that's a great film. I've seen that now.
That's a great film.
Yeah. Amazing collection of bands, no studios who would have gone with it. Yeah, and it's so far to just obviously what happened in that film with Brandon Lee behind the scenes.
I know that he's definitely no longer alive now.
Yeah, there was like someone had loaded live rounds, obviously, I assume accidentally, and when they picked up the wrong gun, so he's supposed to get shot in a scene.
But he actually got shot during the movie?
Yeah, he was killed. Yeah.
I knew that he was dead, but I had no idea how he died.
That's what it was, yeah. So I think they had already filmed the other scenes that he was in, so they were able to finish editing it together. And obviously it was dedicated to him. But yeah, I was very, very sad.
How?
Yeah, I don't know. Whoever was in charge of the props and that, like, what a horrendous mistake to make.
Why? No, but why would there even be?
I don't understand that. Why there would even be around near the set anyway?
Get
it. Like, it just makes no sense. Like some people, because I know with Bruce Lee, I think I watched a documentary years ago where there was some kind of like theories that he might have been. There might have been like some kind of murder or something. Because I trying to remember how Bruce Lee died now as well, but he was like obviously
did he die?
Did he get sick or something? Was there something? Was this? I don't even remember what actually happened with Bruce Lee. How he died. I think he got sick or he drank something or there was something on it. It was blank, freak accident. You say stunt double and radical in his CGI technology for the time to finish. Okay. Yeah. Great film though. I didn't know you'd seen The Crow.
I'm pretty sure I have.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
But no,
I always thought
it's been a while. So,
yeah, 93 or 94. But I remember I always thought that it was when I saw the cover years ago, I thought it was like a horror film.
No.
It's just more it's a revenge story, obviously, because he's by these guys, he's murdered. But I always thought when I was younger, just seeing when you back years ago, you see the videos and you'd be enthralled by the covers. And I thought he was like the monster or the villain. But not a great film.
I'm not sure. Like, have I seen it? Have I not? I mean, I know definitely. Obviously,
you know the look with the face.
Yes, of course. Yeah. No, I know of the film, but I'm like now that you're telling me the story, I'm like, have I seen it? I'm not sure.
I should watch it.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a dark. I mean, I guess technically it's like a superhero film, but it's more vigilante. It's a lot darker than like Spider-Man and them, even kind of the way it's shot. Bruce Lee's death is mysterious to this day. Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, is a great biopic. It's a great film, very moving. I remember seeing something years ago. Like, I think it was like a theory that, or they were cursed or something. The family was cursed or something like that. This is going back about 20 years ago now, so my memory's quite hazy on it. But that they had thought that there was some kind of curse on the family, and obviously Brandon did like.
Kind of sounds like it, doesn't it?
I don't know.
That would make a good movie.
Which
Lee Curse.
Lee Curse.
Probably also not exactly a light movie, but
Oh, there you go. That's in the biopic, The Curse.
Oh yeah.
That part, maybe that was what I saw, or I saw part of it. It was some kind of biography thing on him, anyway. But I remember there used to be National Geographic. Years ago, used to have like there was National Geographic Wild, so like nature documentaries, and then there was another one like about historical things, and they used to have like kind of biography 45-minute things on different actors or directors or famous people, and that was one of them. But so I was going to ask you though, like of the films you've watched on the channel that I've introduced you to, what was probably your most one that you probably enjoyed most, or maybe one that surprised you the most that you were like?
Well, obviously it must have been Dracula and Nosferatu, clearly.
Oh god, she was not a fan of Dracula or Nosferatu. Not the new one though. I haven't seen that yet. But
no.
You're actually. I don't think you're.
I'm not watching.
She watched the trailer to the new one and she was like,
"Not happening."
No, I can't watch this. Yeah.
No. Yeah. There were a bunch of great ones. I really enjoyed the Terminator ones. They were fun.
Yeah.
And I loved. Funnily enough, I loved the funny horrors. So I really liked Arachnophobia and American Werewolf in London. Those were real fun. And obviously the Goonies were so much fun.
I can't believe you hadn't seen that.
I don't know how I haven't seen that.
Classic.
That it's also such a me movie.
Yeah,
I would love a movie like
fun
that.
Adventure movie
absolutely,
with kids.
It's absolutely down my alley. So I have no idea how I didn't see that.
Dragon was made before Brandon died. It's weird that the curse was covered in the movie and then Brandon died. That is weird. So that came out before he even died. The thing about the curse, and then spooky Nosferatu. Yeah, sorry to go to the read those, but I just remember you with your favorite thing about Dracula. Mina.
I was like, okay, so they're screaming Mina 5,000 times. Maybe we'll do that. I'll write a movie, you know.
Frankenstein.
I'm gonna do a version of Irish Nosferatu. And I'm just gonna go, Liam, 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 you know, and then look, you're grand. Nothing happened.
Or Gwe,
Dracula, Gwe.
Frankenstein though is I still think Frankenstein holds up. Debbie Does Dallas is a fun movie. I've never heard of that one. And Hello Thor.
Welcome. Are we sure that's a like Debbie Does Dallas sounds more like a thing that, you know, I don't want to say anything, you know. Like,
Bram Stoker's Dracula by Coppola is great, over the top, amazing artistry. Yeah, I've seen that one years ago. Francis Ford Coppola's version of Dracula.
Dracula.
What's his name? Plays the Count. Oh God, he was in the Batman movies as well. English actor, very good actor. You tell me what the name, guys. But Keanu Reeves is in it as well. He plays Harker, the husband that goes up to.
Right.
You might like it actually. It is quite the visuals in that. I think you might enjoy that one.
Yeah, maybe that's because I'm from
Gary Oldman. Thank you. That's
Gary Oldman. Yeah. Oh yeah, he would be good in that.
Yeah, he plays Dracula.
Yeah, he's Gary Oldman. He's also in Slow Horses.
He's in a lot of stuff.
He's that's a current series. Talk about series at the moment. Okay. Very good series. Very, very good series.
But just going back to the movies then,
So am I cursed to watch all of the bleeding Dracula movies that there are?
No,
because I'm from Transylvania. You know,
that's it was a nice gimmick, you know, Transylvania watches Dracula. I thought that would be a good title, you know.
It's odd enough that I'm from Transylvania. I end up in Ireland, you know, like. And I kind of, you know, and then Bram Stoker even put Transylvania onto the map.
Irishman wrote
all of this, you know, like
in Romania.
And there is some odd, like there are some very odd, like kind of things that you find in some Irish stories, and then in kind of like Romanian mythology, there's a lot of like kind of like these dark creatures and all of that. So like. It's interesting. The folklore, is a bit, you know, there's similarities in tone anyway.
Sid and Nancy, 1986, my favorite. Not Sid, you heard of that? Sid and Nancy? No, I've not heard of that one. So I'll have to check that out. I always add ones to the list and then just put them on polls or something like that, you know. So, by the way, guys, the Poseidon Adventure I put up a couple of hours ago. First film since before Christmas that I put up on the channel. I took a break for a few weeks. But yeah, I think Jaws was probably the one. Was that the one you probably enjoyed most that I've introduced?
No, I would definitely have enjoyed the Goonies better than Jaws. Like,
I think was it you said Jaws for you?
But I loved Jaws. Jaws was really good.
Because Jaws was
fun, kind of in an unexpected
I
way.
love Jaws. So what I loved most about your review of Jaws was you were like, yeah, it's a really good movie, but like you were taken aback about how well made it was and how good the acting was. I think you were expecting more of a B movie.
You see, and that's the thing.
And then
you know, talk about acting, like we're talking about Adrian Paul and all that. You didn't actually need that much good acting in Jaws, possibly.
But you got
it. You know, but you got it. Yeah. And it was because it was technically more of an action movie, but the acting was brilliant. And we talked about that one scene where they talk about the
scars. Oh, when he talks about the Indianapolis.
Yeah, like that was so dark and like so real as well. And you wouldn't have needed that in a movie, but it made it so much better.
It did. It adds a lot more weight to it and adds that tension because he's talking about the sharks and what they're capable of, and they're literally in the ocean facing off against this thing. I know it's a little bit exaggerated, but as a movie watcher, viewer watching the film, you get caught up in it.
And also you want to, like, the first thing I think I did was go on Wikipedia and like try to find out what the hell happened.
Because I remember you saying to me, like, did that really? Like, what was that? I was like, that really hurt. Like,
horrendous.
Bram Stoker's Dracula actually ties in the historical Vlad the Impaler into the film, and he even dramatizes the Crusades for a bit. Bram Stoker's Dracula is definitely the Dracula movie a Transylvania needs to see. Okay, we'll have to check that one out.
Well, I did know Vlad the Impaler story, you know, so like I didn't know that. But
Yeah, no, we'll have to check it. We'll have to watch that one. So.
And I told you why Bram Stoker like even was inspired for that, didn't I?
Did you?
Yeah, I did tell you that. Of course, you forgot, but yeah, I did tell you. It was because when he was a child, apparently he was quite sickly.
Oh, you did.
And
You did.
his mom had nothing better to do than to sit there and tell him all of these gruesome stories of the Black Death in Dublin and how everyone was like dying and how horrible it was and how I don't know. And then so just all of the most gruesome stories you can possibly imagine. And then he did become healthy as an adult, but then of course that would have influenced his entire.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially as a child, you're and all that. Like, no surprise that he came up with wrote that story. But
especially when you're sick and someone keeps telling you about how people used to die, in Dublin during the Black Death, like, oh God. But yeah, it influenced his whole idea of, aesthetic, you could say. And then maybe there was also a little bit of what's his face, the Mr. Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know. The literary guy. Oh God, what's his name again? The dark romantic. Yeah, okay, I'll get there in a minute. The English poet.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it just won't come to me.
Lord Byron. That's it. Yeah.
They actually. Oh, just one more Transylvanian reacts to Dracula, please. We'll do it. We'll do a crazy
another Dracula.
Don't worry, Mina won't be. Hopefully, there won't be as many. Mina are in that tone constantly. It's Mina. You probably won't find it as slow as the Lugosi version.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll add that in definitely.
So.
I like Dracula Has Risen from the Grave because I had cozy in scenes.
Cozy in scenes.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. There's kind of that location, and like,
I like the in scene also from American Werewolf in London. When they were in the
slaughtered lamb
in the pub. Yeah, that was funny. Also because I seriously, while that scene was playing, I was seeing the same scene in Ireland. And that would have been so much different. They would have come in and everyone would be like, "Oh, hello! How are you doing?
Will you
Where
sing
are
a song?
You from?
Will you sing a song? Sing a song for us there, will you?"
Oh my God! It would have been like they would have inquired everything about them.
Winona Ryder plays Mina.
Oh yeah. Okay. Interesting. I can see that.
Winona Ryder, of course. Mrs. Byers in Stranger Things.
Yes, I know who Winona Ryder is. I've seen her also as a young person in many things.
In Scissorhands.
Yes, and other things.
Oh yes, many things.
Yeah.
Lord Byron was with Mary Shelley and her husband Percy when she wrote Frankenstein. Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because also just going back to Highlander, in season 5 they actually did an episode where I don't know if any of you remember the character Mythos. He was like over 1,000 years old, friend of MacLeod's. He was actually there, a friend of Lord Byron and Mary Shelley, and it was actually her watching Immortals fight, and I think one of them, Immortals looked like got killed, was shot, which we have to decapitate him. So she saw that person coming back to life, and then when one of them killed the other, she saw the power they give electricity, and that kind of like inspired her to write Frankenstein. So it was a cool way to kind of bring that in.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, that was
really
really
love
fun
that.
episode.
That's really cool.
Yeah. That's what's great about Highlanders. It goes through so many areas of history. There's a lot of layers you can do with it. Also, like Quantum Leap is a fun movie or a fun TV show because Sam Beckett, who leaps, it's anywhere in his lifetime. So it can be like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. So there's a lot of areas to kind of cover. Is the Frankenstein monster immortal like the Highlander guys? No, not really.
Is the Frankenstein monster
immortal like the Highlander guys? No,
but he's not alive.
He's not, well, he is technically. He's brought back by different.
Yeah, but is he brought back or is he just brought?
Yeah, well, he's a creation.
Because he's kind of like
he's a creation of different bits.
Yeah, so, but he's sewn together, right?
Yeah, he's sewn together with different bits. But he can die. He's not really immortal. Frankenstein's monster can be killed. The the immortals can be killed as well, but you have to decapitate them.
But what do you do? Like, do you have to stop his heart from beating, or?
I think if you like shot
And then
him or
could him-
something, you could kill him. If like fire or something, he'd die like any person.
Yeah, well, yeah,
He's just
in fire he would. Yeah,
he just
sure.
feels like he's more strength, he's more physically, I guess.
I mean, like
imposing
if
and
you
capable
start
than a
thinking about
typical
that,
person.
you find the plot holes. Like okay, like would all of his neurons, like all of the nerve
Well,
ends
I mean,
work?
it bridges
and-
into sci-fi, so
Yeah, that's what I mean.
it's
so.
not everything is as is. Kenneth Branagh and Robert De Niro made a great underrated Frankenstein movie. I agree completely, Crazy Cat. I don't know if you've seen that. Robert De Niro plays the monster. I think it was 1994, and I think Hella Bonham Carter or
Helena Bonham Carter.
yeah, she's in it as well. That's a brilliant version, really underrated. I agree.
She playing the
completely.
monster.
Yeah. She plays the monster, yeah. Frankenstein's monster was a brand new being who never lived. He was not someone who was brought back.
Yeah,
he
that's
was,
what
like,
I mean.
of different
He
bits.
wasn't.
Yeah,
he
of
wasn't
different
a
bits.
thing. Like he
Yeah.
was actually created.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know. Like I walk into a morgue, grab 5 things,
But it's
shock him,
it's a
and all
new-
of a sudden it's like.
But it's like a new being. It's a new being. So I agree with you. Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you're saying.
It's like I mean.
And what Crazy Cat is saying as well.
Yeah.
True creation, yeah. I read the book. I studied the book I went to America for a semester, and we studied the Frankenstein novel. It was like Frankenstein at 200, and I remember being so excited because I love horror, and
No.
yeah, it's
You
really,
love horror.
But what was
Never knew
what was
that.
even cooler was we went through the syllabus of like what we would be studying for whatever the amount of weeks or months we were there, and we were studying an episode of Star Trek as well, Next Generation. I was like, I remember I was one of those times where I took a double take. I was like, what? We're studying Star Trek. Like, this is fucking amazing, It's
Well, yeah.
it was so cool. So cool. I remember my brother also, Jared, who loves Star Trek as well. And I remember telling him, he was like, why the hell couldn't I have studied something like that in college? Like, study Star Trek,
Yeah, but you can. I mean, like, who says
Absolutely
that?
you can, yeah.
Who says that a show cannot be a great piece of art?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't it be studied?
No, absolutely.
Like, especially in social studies, you actually study movies and sitcoms all the time. I remember I took I think that was a class that I saw university where they were discussing the cultural inappropriation of Modern Family. And so like it's a sitcom, like, and but it's relevant because obviously TV shows shape culture and society so much, because first they mirror them, but second of all they also kind of influence them. Like if you look into like even the Big Bang Theory, like all of a sudden nerds were cool. Yeah, and even the word even became kind of popular, So it was, I don't know. It's just I think that they should be studied.
It is interesting. It is interesting about how kind of nerds. It's cool now, whereas like before it was seen as like you'd almost like. Certainly, when it was depicted in fiction, it was seen as like a nerd was not a good thing. You were, an idiot or kind of like just obsessed with this TV show or something, but you were they were shown more in a negative way, where now it's definitely changed where like being a nerd is almost cool.
It is. No, it's definitely like.
But the thing is, a nerd for me can fall into any category. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be like movies or TV shows. It could be like, as you know, I love soccer, and like when I was in school, I used to like write down lists of like goal scorers and top scorers from previous tournaments, and like that in itself is like
I had no hobbies.
No, but I'm saying it's like that in itself is like he's a nerd. He's a soccer nerd, So I think it falls into various categories. Being a nerd, same with music as well. Obviously,
absolutely. Not just music, but like let me talk about weird language stuff for like 30 minutes, and I can do that easily.
Oh my God! I just remembered. Have you guys seen the horror TV show Penny Dreadful with Eva Green? Really fun show. A lot of literary references. Eva Green is gorgeous in the series as Victoria as a Victorian goth. I've heard of it. I know what you call is in it. The guy who played James Bond Welch, my favorite Bond actually. God, what's his name? Do you know the Welsh actor? Oh, what's his name? Timothy Dalton.
Oh,
No, I my brother has watched it, and I do need to check it out. Also, because one of my lecturers in college, she was an actress, and she actually guest starred in a couple of episodes as well. Yeah, so I do need to check it out. Yeah, there you go, Timothy Dalton. Yeah, that's what someone come to me for a minute. But no, I definitely need to check out Penny Dreadful. What you call is in it as well. The guy, he was in Pearl Harbor.
Which one of them?
Not
Affleck?
No, not Ben Affleck. The other guy.
What's
What's his name? I remember he was in Halloween H2O as well. He played Jamie Lee Curtis's son. His face is right there. I just can't think of his name, but I think he's in it as well. But yeah, that's supposed to be a very good show.
I watched.
I think that was HBO as well.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the remake. That's actually quite cool.
Isn't that a darker version? It's not
very,
like as much a comedy
dark.
like the
No, it's
original
not a comedy
one.
at all.
Yeah,
it's not a comedy.
But
at
was
all.
it good? Did you enjoy it?
I watched it to a certain point. After that, it got too creepy. You know me.
Okay, I'll have to watch it then.
But it's good. It was good. Yeah.
Josh Hartnett. That's it. Thank you.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah,
yes, that's right.
As well.
He also was in a bunch of heartthrob movies.
Late 90s. Yeah, I said he was in. Well, he was in.
And then I think he didn't do anything for a while, and now he's kind of back.
What was that film? You probably haven't seen it, but that film where 28 Days of Night. I think he was in that as well. That was a good film.
I think he kind of what happened with him was he hated playing the heartthrob. So I think he kind of went full indie after a while, and then he.
Well, it's the thing, you kind of get pigeonholed into a certain role, and I can see why for actors that's frustrating, because especially with a lot of those kind of heartthrob films, there's not a lot of layers for him to go with it. It's like same thing over and over.
And then you see Matthew McConaughey, who went from full heartthrob to bloody hell. How great was he in that movie?
Well, you haven't watched Dazed and Confused, his first film. That is one of my probably top 5 favorite movies of all time. It's so good.
All right.
Classic in it. I remember when you saw a character reading a comic book in a movie, it was shorthand for the audience to let them know the character was a nitwit. General attitude towards comics back in the day. Yeah, it's even what was it? I was watching an episode of Friends there recently, and Joey walks in and he's like, can I stay in can I come into your room? I'm just gonna read some of my comics. And there's a laugh, oh, Joey reading comics. But it's just another
graphic novel is just a different literary
it's different,
form.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're also very well drawn most of the time. So, there's absolutely
But it was kind of seen today, unless you were a child, it was you're reading comics. What are you doing?
I mean, I read the Mickey Mouse comics. Now they were for kids. I was a kid, to be fair, when I read them. But yeah.
I've been looking to watch because my brothers used to collect them. I used to love the covers on the Hardy Boys books. Because I told you, my nephew, he's got into them. I got him a kind of an anthology thing of them for Christmas. But I was looking at some of the really old covers that my brothers used to have, and I was like, I wouldn't mind reading one or two of those, just fun adventures, And then I just learned as well there was a TV series, I think, of the Hardy Boys in the 70s. If anyone heard of that, I was like, oh, that could be interesting to check out at some point as well. You know me, I love my old TV shows and old movies. Is there just something about old movies, and there's a certain charm about them, and even the way they're shot. I've kind of mentioned this before on the channel. There's one thing about a lot of modern films. I don't know what they put into the lens of the camera, but it looks different. It's just the quality of the TV. I don't know. It's not that. It's something else. And I always kind of go, there's a certain feel that it gives to older films, and even back in the 90s as well, it has it. There's a certain feel that the older films have, and it just instantly kind of puts you into the film yeah, this is good. I like this.
Yeah, but we've discussed this multiple times.
I'm not saying
because you're kind of there's good things about both the genres. Obviously, you have a lot of old good movies, but you're kind of apprehensive about watching modern stuff.
No, not at all.
And
not at
yes,
all.
you are.
I'm not. No,
yes, you are.
I'm not. I just sometimes you'd see a trailer and you'd be like, I don't know. It doesn't draw me in as much. I can't explain it. Where if I watch a trailer for an old film that I've never seen, I'm like, oh, that looks fun. I like that.
I just think it's your association, because
maybe there's a little bit of that in there.
The good thing about, we talk a lot about storytelling, and obviously when you watch an old movie, that's my problem with old movies more often than not. Not always, of course, because there are some still brilliant stories in there. But it's the thing is when you think about storytelling, obviously some of the old movies, they were absolutely life-changing at the time.
And then you look
but
at them
the
now,
problem is that they've been referenced so many times that
it's not as fresh as it was when it came out.
You're like, yeah, I'm not seeing it, and it does not really, like, for me, I very often have that thing that I find them too simplistic. You know, it's a bit like when you read like the Greek philosophers and then you read, I don't know, Immanuel Kant or something. You're like, okay, the Greeks kind of, what were they even wondering about? You know, and it's a little bit like that because like it's difficult to unsee everything that you've seen now. So for me, sometimes when I watch a more modern movie, it's not always the case, obviously. There's a lot of crap in every single decade, obviously. But like, I find it more interesting because they try to reinvent the things and the different stories, and they do that by taking in different angles or telling the story like in more or less in a deconstructed way. You know,
I see your point.
That's why I sometimes get more like I try to watch more new things because I'm just interested in how, you know, they approach it. It's a bit like in paintings, you had the same thing. There was a certain aesthetic in every single you know, decade, and then all of a sudden you could have different aesthetics. And I find that for every type of art form that is the case, you know, like you break things open and all of a sudden you do a mashup of things and things become more interesting. So
I just gonna read. So yeah, I liked the 1970s Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew show Haunted Lighthouse episodes. Okay, yeah, I said I definitely want to watch something about Hardy Boys. Just kind of was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Have you seen the Scottish movie reactor Dawn Marie? She never watched westerns before doing her channel. She fell in love with the genre and John Wayne and Clint Eastwood. She eventually watched Tombstone and pissed off all her subscribers for not liking it.
What?
Oh God. It's not a. I've seen her a few times. Yeah, she's a few of the westerns. She's a reactor as well from Scotland. But he's saying that like she didn't some of the westerns, so she loved John Wayne and Clint Eastwood, but then she watched Tombstone, which is very popular. I would even say very popular among people who aren't really big into westerns. But he's saying that she didn't like it, and then like a lot of
that happens.
I know, and I think it's harsh. Like I mean,
it's absolutely
it would be a lot
worse. Like
it would be a lot worse if she just pretended that she liked it. Like at least she was honest. I respect that she was honest in her reaction, even though she probably knew it was beloved, and a lot of people probably had suggested it to her and was like, "Look, I didn't enjoy it." I mean, at the end of the day, it's all opinion. Like, you know, you shouldn't be like.
Yeah, and also it's not just it's opinion, but it's also association. What you associate with that thing, you know, what does it remind you of?
One of the second, I think, films. Because I started obviously with westerns. That was kind of the main thing in the channel. But I think I watched The Searchers was the second film I watched, or third, with John Wayne. Beloved film, and I will say now it has actually. I've reevaluated my review on it. I actually think it is a good film, but I remember I didn't give it a great review when I watched it the first time, because I think the problem was that I had heard so much great stuff about it, that it was like one of the greatest films ever made, one of the greatest westerns, and I was just expecting so much from it, and I watched it, I was like, I was disappointed with it, and I said that in the review. Again, I didn't want to like pretend. But as I said, I've actually reevaluated my opinion on that. I think it is a better film than I gave it credit. But one I did not like at all, I still was Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I did not like that film at all. And it's funny because I used to have a subscriber who used to comment all the time, and she had recommended that film. And I gave it a bad review, and then I'd never seen her comment again on the channel.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, it happens, you know. Like we're all meant to have different opinions. And I mean, you and I have, you know, more often than not different opinions on
movies,
not just movies, music and everything. You know, like we
Cherry Lady, Cherry Lady. She introduced me to a friend of hers, a good friend of hers in Germany. And we were in the car, and the two of us were singing that song. And I just saw on her face, she was like, "Why? Why did I introduce the two of them?"
Also, how do I have to listen to this stupid song again? Like.
My favorite movie is 1994's Nobody's Fool, starring Paul Newman and Bruce Willis. I've not seen that. No, not seen that one. We did or you'd seen it before, but over Christmas we watched Die Hard again.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant. That was fun.
I never get tired of that.
Yeah,
that is just the epitome of such a fun, entertaining movie. It is.
Actually, I saw a trailer today. There was apparently
another one.
No, completely different movie, but also sounds kind of like a action movie with Cameron Diaz, and I think. Was it Kevin Hart? I'm not sure. Okay. They seem to be an old spies, and now they've had a family and kids, and all of a sudden their past is kind of catching on. It sounded a bit like a comedy thriller, action movie. So that sounded like I was like, yeah, we have to watch that. That looks like a fun movie.
It's an interesting angle to put on it as well, like all the stuff that they do over the years. And like, oh crap. People are looking for revenge now, and we're living these normal lives with a family. We're retired.
And the kids were like, "You're spies."
Newman was in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, obviously. Yeah, I don't know if you just saw, but I just said recently that was actually one Western I did not enjoy. I know it's beloved. Like a lot of lists I've read online have a top 10 favorite Westerns of all time, but I just didn't enjoy it. Some beautiful shots, but in general, I just did not enjoy that one. And I think something like the Oxbow incident, like I don't see any reactors watching that. Maybe because it's 40s, a bit older, but that was phenomenal. Oxbow incident with Henry Fonda. It's very much a morality tale. It's about these guys that are accused of murder and they're going to be hung, and it's trying to figure out where they actually did it or not. So it's very much a human story. And I thought it was phenomenal. Even if you don't like Westerns, it's a film I would recommend. Absolutely unbelievable film. Brilliant. That's the best Western I've seen that I've watched. I've nearly 100 now, and it was amazing. Such a good film. But that's one. It's unfortunate. I don't know if anyone else has reacted to that film. But that is one I think. Again, I think probably just because they might get as many views for it or something possibly. But really good. You have to dive into some experimental alternative Westerns like El Topo and Dead Man. Westerns unlike any other Westerns ever made. El Topo I've heard of. I'm not familiar with Dead Man though. My favorite Western is The White Buffalo, about a spooky supernatural like buffalo. Okay. Interesting.
Do you think that the one with the with the wheel with the superpowers that plays in the desert could also go as a Western?
Have you seen that, guys? We just saw the trailer. It's like there's a tire.
I think it's called Rubber.
Yeah, or
I
something.
think it's called Rubber. It's a tire with telekinetic powers that is murdering people. It's absolutely hilarious.
My favorite Western is The Wild Bunch. Yeah, that was a great film. I really liked that one. That would definitely for its reputation, it definitely met its reputation of.
Have you watched Lucky Luke as a child?
Lucky Luke.
Yeah, you've never watched Lucky Luke. It's a cartoon, obviously, and it's a Western. Like Lucky Luke is this cowboy, and it's got his horse, his best friend, and then there are these 4, guys that are kind of like the bad guys, and they're the brothers, Dalton brothers, I think they're called, and they're like,
Lucky Luke.
It's Lucky Luke. It's very.
Have you guys seen that Lucky Luke?
Lots of fun. Yeah, it's very.
What's the name of that movie? Instead of the tire murdering people, I want to watch it.
Yes.
What was it called? What was it? Rubber.
We just Google Rubber. I think it's called. I think it's called Rubber, and it's honestly all you need to watch is the trailer. It's like that's all you need to watch. It's so incredibly funny. Yeah.
What was the movie about?
No, Dead Man stars Johnny Depp, his only Western.
Oh, that's on my list actually. Mid-90s, I think it is. Rubber, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rubber is the name of it. 2010.
It's
just about a tire.
Hilarious.
Yeah, Deadman.
Yeah, there's a little Psycho reference in that too. So yeah.
I actually as well. Rubber. Yeah, there you go. No problem, Mariko. Hope you enjoy it. We have to technically watch it. We've only seen the trailer, so we'll have to watch
It's enough, I think. Like, they probably need to watch the movie. It's just the tire just rolling through the desert.
I'd actually I put a poll up on my Patreon recently for the next, because what I'm going to do going forward, because I have 2 westerns left to watch to get to 100, and then I'm going to kind of branch into other genres. So,
like rom-coms, you're saying you're considering rom-coms very strongly.
It looks like noir for February. We'll take for most of February will be noir, because that seems to have won out on the Patreon poll. So
noir,
yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched a few with Humphrey Bogart. They're good movies, but there's one called Blood Simple by the Coen Brothers, which I've heard is very good. So I think I'll add that to the list for February.
Okay, very good.
On the subject of westerns, please check out Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean with Paul Newman. Definitely not your regular westerns. Okay. And Red Dead Redemption made a zombie western video game. It did. I remember that. Why Hollywood has never made a zombie western is beyond me. It's just a natural. Guns slow to reload, ratchet up the tension. Absolutely,
that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Hey, you can do an Irish zombie western. that plays in Cork.
I think there was. Mike Bart, when's your next Western reaction? So that will be, I think 2 weeks time. So this is 2 weeks. It is Friendly Persuasion with Gary Cooper and Anthony Perkins.
Will that be 100? No,
that's 99. And
99.
I have to do a final. It's really convoluted, but I have the final poll to do. So I did like 4 polls and of like different westerns, and the 4 winners are now true to like a final to determine the western that we watch for 100. But like as time goes on, I'll come back to westerns every so often and watch whatever ones I hadn't got to. But 100 is quite a lot. I just think for the channel it might be good to kind of in more depth explore other genres. So many great quotes from The Wild Bunch. My favorite quote: "We all dream of being a child again, even the worst of us. Perhaps the worst most of all." Yeah, the opening to The Wild Bunch as well with the kids and the scorpions was very powerful, where they're literally like torturing them.
Oh God,
yeah,
no.
These kids, and it's kind of showing, kind of, because around them there's all these like gunfire and things are happening. It's kind of showing the environment they're growing up in, and it's like, what else are they destined for? Kind of like, so it's a very powerful way to open it. Kathleen Cook's Friendly Persuasion is like Channel Door. It's more a Civil War movie than a Western. Okay. What's the next silent movie? So many great silent movies from all genres. Yeah, I need to look at that. Unfortunately, a couple of the ones I had done by not Buster Keaton, but God, name escaped, the English. What's his name again? God, what's his name? Oh my God. Charlie Chaplin. Thank you. Good. Charlie Chaplin. Some of them were taken down for copyright, which was weird because I thought all the silent films were copyright free, or most of them. But I think it might have been a music. Thank you. Yeah, Chaplin. I think it might have been a music issue. Some of the music might have been like wasn't copyright. Like in the movies are in public domain, but some of the music mightn't have been. Unfortunately, some of them are taken down, but I will definitely watch Bleeping Microphone. Bleeping Microphone. Is there an issue with the microphone? Is there an issue with the microphone, guys? I don't know. Bleeping Microphone. Okay. You can let me know if there's an issue with it. An underrated 70s Western is the Culpeper Cattle Co. City Lights. I think I watched City Lights. No, did I watch City Lights? I'm trying to remember now. I watched quite a lot of them. Do you want to? You can do the heating if you want to turn off.
Yeah. I think I may have to turn off our heating.
Yeah, it's quite well. You can. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Microphone. I feel like rubber movie. Yeah, so I will definitely come back and do some more silent films as well. What I was doing was I was watching a Western on Wednesdays, another movie Friday. I had Star Trek on Saturday and a silent film on Sunday, but I couldn't maintain the schedule. I'd started a new job as well, so I had less time. It's the editing is really, that's what's the time consuming thing really. That's really eats up the time during the week. So it was hard to kind of get ahead of the schedule as well, so I had to unfortunately reduce the amount I would do in the week. Have you seen any Lon Chaney senior films? Phantom of the Opera and Hunchback of Notre Dame are original horror films. I did see the Phantom of the Opera, the silent version. Hunchback of Notre Dame I've not seen.
I've seen the Disney version.
Did you enjoy it?
No.
No? Okay.
Because the ending, in Disney, the ending always has to be good, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame doesn't have a good ending, period.
Okay.
You can't, there are certain endings that you can't turn into a Disney ending. Like The Little Mermaid was originally also very dark, but they turned that into like a really sweet movie that worked. But I thought with a Hunchback, that did not work. No. But the interesting thing is, I saw a musical version of it, which actually featured all of the Disney stuff, but the original ending, which was very interesting. It was in Wexford actually. I saw it last year. It was brilliant. It was incredible production. You would think,
compared to like film and that, it would be
first of all, they did do the original story, but also you're like, you look at an amateur production of a musical.
It was an amateur production.
It was the most professional thing I've ever seen. I've been to a few musicals in Germany, and none of them were even close to as good as what those guys put on stage. So it was really good.
But so you enjoyed the Lon Chaney ending. That's the one where the mask is removed, isn't this? The famous scene. Because I have seen that. I watched that for the channel back about a year and a half ago. No, just to go back on your point about amateur productions. In theatre, often that is the case where amateur productions are actually better than professional productions. I've seen it.
Definitely
Sometimes
the case.
they are.
Definitely
the acting, the music, everything.
Yeah. And they had like a bunch of people on stage. It was so many people on stage.
Kathleen, you okay? It seems that message retracted. Message retracted. So I'm not sure if she's having some issues message sending.
Typo, maybe?
Maybe it was a typo. Because guys, what I'm kind of looking to do going forward, as I said, is kind of each month kind of focus on a genre, or maybe I was thinking maybe an actor or a director, and that way I can kind of explore more of the genres rather than specifically just being on westerns, I thought that might be a good thing going forward for the channel. So I said noir will probably be for February, or most of it. I think Western 100 will be the first week of February. Then noir. And
then we're doing the rom-coms, right?
By the way, guys, would you like me to do some rom-coms?
Why do you keep asking the guys? Like, I have to watch horrors with you.
Not anymore.
I feel
not anymore.
Yeah, I feel like you owe me a couple.
We did watch a couple though. We watched a couple.
We watched one
at Christmas. What did we?
Love Actually. I haven't actually seen that. It's like that's a movie that's been so often referenced. If you haven't seen that, you just even if you hate the genre, you have to watch it. So.
The silent horror movies from Germany are classics. Yeah, well, Nosferatu being an obvious one. It was. I know you would. I love it. It was brilliant. That scene inspired Universal monster movies and film noir. Yeah, you often see kind of it's talked about a lot. Like even I've seen documentaries on horror, and they always show that scene of when the face is revealed, when she pulls off the mask of the Phantom. I assume you haven't seen that. Phantom of the Opera. I mean, you obviously you know the story, obviously.
No, and I've also seen the musical.
I've seen the musical. Okay, was it good?
Oh, did I? I know the music. The music was actually quite good. Yes, the music was quite good.
You mentioned you wanted to do more Eastwood westerns. Buckle up, partner. You'll have to do a musical, Paint Your Wagon. I wanted to do Paint Your Wagon. My only, and that's actually I think the only western I haven't watched of Eastwood. But I'm always reluctant to do musicals because I think with songs. Copyright is a lot more strict. It's a lot harder to get around it, and like if I'm cutting out all the songs, I feel it's kind of pointless putting up the reaction if I'm editing out all the songs from the film.
Maybe you can just put tiny little.
I mean, little snippets, obviously. But if you're cutting out, yeah, maybe. I don't know. What do you think, guys? If there's a lot of cuts to it, that would it kind of take away from the reaction? Spooky movie reactions are entertaining. I agree. Like, to be honest, that's where I kind of first started watching reaction videos, was kind of true horror films. And Jaws, kind of stuff like Jaws and Terminator. I loved watching just to see people's reactions to that. They were always fun to watch. Great romance movie, The Bridges of Madison County, directed by and starring Clint Eastwood, is a beautiful and moving film. I genuinely love the film, unlike any other Eastwood film. Yeah, a friend of mine actually has told me about that one, so I will have to watch that too. That could be one we could watch, a romance movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because you feel like the only movies that I watch are romance movies?
No. Just saying maybe we could, possibly. Or I'll watch it anyway.
No.
And then, yeah.
No, I'll watch it with you.
Well,
I'm just
okay.
protesting the notion.
Okay, no, we will. We will do a month of
Yeah.
rom-coms. We'll do a month of rom-coms.
We'll do a month of rom-coms.
Okay. Yeah, so I want you to suggest a couple. I'll put probably a few up on a poll, but you got to mention a couple that you think we should watch.
Yeah, we already watched Love Actually.
Yeah, okay, but I'm sure
But
there's
do
others.
you want to watch the classics? There's there are in the wars, there are classics.
If there are older ones, I would like to watch older ones if we could.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
a couple of them are actually more Christmassy, but it doesn't matter.
Love your channel. Congrats on your first live. It gets easier as you go along. We all love movies. Thank you very much, and Anthony. Yeah, I was like kind of dreading it a little bit. I was like, I had no idea if anyone would even be on, to be honest. I thought it might have just been the two of us having a conversation for like an hour, just like talking to ourselves. As for a director, please check out Sidney Lumet, 12 Angry Men, Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon Network, just to name a few. Serpico, that was the 70s, wasn't it? I 12 Angry Men I've seen. That's a phenomenal film. If you're talking about the original with Henry Fonda. Have you seen that?
What's that called?
12 Angry Men.
Mm.
Okay, that's actually a film we could possibly watch for the channel. That's a brilliant film. So it's about they're on jury duty, so they're back trying to decide if the guy is guilty or not. And like at the beginning, like all of them bar one think he's guilty and the other isn't, and that kind of
turns around.
Yeah, basically, I don't want to give too much, but yeah, it's very good. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a great rom-com. Yes, it counts. Have you heard of that one?
What?
Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a great rom-com.
Never heard of it.
Okay, I'm assuming it's probably not. Maybe just going with what he's saying. I'm assuming, or who's Crazy Cat? Sorry, put it in. I'm assuming he's maybe half joking. I don't know, but
I don't. I don't know the movies, so therefore I cannot say anything about it.
I love Dog Day Afternoon. I watch it every hot summer. Dog Day Afternoon. You know that one? Okay, I have to put some of these down.
I know Who Let the Dogs Out.
Yes, all classics. 12 Angry Men, excellent. Yes, it is excellent. Serpico, is Serpico with it's Al Pacino in Serpico, or am I wrong?
Don't ask me. You're the old movie expert.
To an extent.
You can ask me about things that were filmed after the Stone Age. Just joking.
But guys, I mean, for you, with that, like, kind of, would you like that if it was like every month, kind of, you change a genre, a month, focus on a certain genre, or maybe focus on a certain actor or director? Scott Pilgrim is a brilliant film. If you know nothing, don't do any research. Go in blind. It'll be much more fun that way. Okay, it will.
What is it? Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I'm just gonna write that down. Versus the World. Okay. Right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. Thank you all for joining. It was really nice to chat with you, and we'll definitely have to do another one of these lives at some point. And just again, as always, really appreciate the support. Was it two when did I start? August 2022, I think I started the channel.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been quite a while. So again, guys, I really, really appreciate it. Genuinely do the support, and you watch the videos, seen the comments. It's always a lot of fun. As a guy who loves movies, it's always fun to chat about movies. So I just want to thank you all for that. For rom-com, my favorite, not my favorite genre, Arsenic and Old Lace. Heard of that one? Is that was I think it's with, might be Jimmy Stewart, or is it Cary Grant possibly, or it could be, or is it Gary Cooper or someone else? Could be wrong. It was fun. Have you ever seen Dark City, a great unsung, underrated movie? I have not seen that. Again, some of these I'm going to have to take down and add them to the list. Cary Grant. But guys, again, thank you very much, and I will talk to you soon. Slán go fóill.
Slán, bitches!